So before starting, you want to wash the surface of your client's brows with either, I have here an antiseptic soap. I'm sorry, I'm just putting over her face. But I have an antiseptic soap, and or you could use like a skin cleaner. Okay. Generally, I'll do an antiseptic or a skin cleanser. There are some practitioners that use alcohol. If you use alcohol, make for certain that you go behind that and wipe it with distilled water to ensure that the client will not experience any burning during the procedure. So the objective to wash the surface area, of course, to make for certain that you're going to cleanse the skin, but in addition, you want to make for certain that if the client has oily skin, we want to make for certain that we wipe that off. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. Remember, you always want to use distilled water. Never, ever, ever use tap water during your microblading procedure. So I'll just take a little bit. I've damped my round cotton. I'm going to put a little bit of soap here. And you're just going to wash that area. Okay. And this client, she has really good skin. Her skin, just this combination, her skin is really, really good. So it's just a great platform to work on. You also want to make for certain that you dry the area too. Okay. All right, so remember when you're mapping, the first thing that we're going to do is the center line. This can be achieved by one, using your string ruler, okay, and or you can use your ruler caliper. All right, it is to your discretion as the microblading practitioner. There is no right or wrong way. It is all about discretion. So remember, the first point that we're going to do, right, is going to be in the center of the nose. Now, you can go right here in the bridge. Now, of course, we're in the middle of a pandemic, so this is why my client is wearing her mask, or you could go at the center of the nose. So we're going to go here right at the center. And simply glide back. That is the first line that you're going to do. Now, this is before you do your A through D. This is the first line. So if you're one of my online students, when you do your homework assignments and when we say make your first point, this is what we're speaking in regard to. Okay? All right, guys, so now that we have made our center line, now what we're going to do is make our A point, okay? Now, your A point, remember, you have three different ways that you can do your A point. One would be the center of the nostril on the side or the lateral part of the nose and or the front of the tear duct. Generally, I go in front of the tear duct, but again, because we're in a pandemic, you're going to see me go right in front of her tear duct to mark the A. Now, this is just a rule of thumb. Once you're done and you're complete with your mapping, this could vary because remember, you want to have your clients involved. So this is just a rule of thumb. Sometimes your client may request, hey, I would like to have my brow come in a little bit further, or maybe I could have it come in a little bit shy of where you have it. Okay, so this is just a rule of thumb. Again, this is achieved by going in front of the tear duct. So see here, her tear duct, I'm going in front. Okay, that is your point A. I'm just gonna move your head right there. Yep, that's perfect. All right, that's your A. So now what I want to do to ensure both of my points are in the correct placement, what I then do is I'm going to take my ruler caliper and I'm going to measure, okay? And I tell my students, you want to treat this like algebra. What you do to one side, you would do to the other. So we're going to go here and place a little mark. And this is where I will put my other line. Once you have marked your center line and both of your A lines, you can check behind yourself to ensure your points are accurate. Make for certain wherever you're measuring that that same placement is exact on the other side. So in other words, don't measure here and then come up. I want you guys to be consistent, okay? Be consistent and make for certain you're at the same points. So I'm right here above the supraorbital ridge, okay? Remember that term, the supraorbital ridge, okay? And you guys can literally just feel that, okay? Right here. All right, so now we're going to mark her B point. Remember, the B is where the brow is elevated, and this is where your arch placement will be. Now, she does have a natural arch, and she does want to maintain her arch, and we're going to get into it a little bit because we're going to do the measurements of it too. But nevertheless, the way that is achieved is by having your client look directly up as she's doing now, okay? And we're going to go on the side or the lateral side of the iris to mark the arch. Okay, now at this time, when you are using your measuring device, make for certain that you tell your client to keep looking up, because sometimes they'll want to look at it and then it'll kind of throw you off. So make for certain you're telling them to look directly up. All right, so okay, I'm going to just have you look straight up like you're doing. Make for certain that when I use my tool, you don't look at it, okay? It's going to be really quick. So this is the side of her iris. Can you guys see that? Right there. So when I make, okay, and you can relax now. So when I make that line, as you guys can see, it naturally lines up with her arch, okay? So the side of the iris, or the colored part of the eye, is where you want to do your arch. So once you get it, you can just define it a little bit more and bring it back, okay? Guys, when you're making your markings, it's important to keep it neat. If there are any smudges, this is where you're going to take your Spirit Q-tips. Some of you guys may refer to them as your medical cotton swabs. Just keep everything really nice and clean, okay? So again, we're going to repeat that same step. What we did to one side, we're going to do to the next. So I simply want to measure from my A to my B, right? And also, guys, I want you to remember the faces are not symmetrical. So there may be a case where you may say, hey, this is a little bit different. And what you'll do is, you know, if they're a couple of millimeters off, that's fine. Just remember. So we're going to go right here. Okay. All right, so if you're on my online course and or if you're just looking at the tutorial video, you should know and understand this is your A line here, okay? This is your B. So your A represents your bulb, okay? Just so we'll understand exactly what we're doing. The A represents your bulb. This means this is where the beginning portion of the brow is going to begin, okay? Once you and your client are in agreement. The B represents where the eyebrow is elevated and or where the arch is located. Now, the C I generally do not mark simply because it's self-explanatory. After B, there comes C, but what that simply means is the hair direction will shift and grow in a downward manner. So if you guys notice here, the hairs are coloring up, and then after B, they begin to grow in a downward manner. Okay, there's sometimes you may have some clients with some funky eyebrows, and they may grow up, but as a rule of thumb, generally they come down. All right, so I don't mark that. but we're going to mark the D mark, okay? The D represents where the brows will be lengthened to, or the length of the brow, okay? So the way that is achieved, and again, we're in the pandemic, you would normally go on the side of the nose or the lateral part of the nose, or you can go through the corner. If you're on my online course, you guys have a download worksheet that identifies these points, and you'll notice that the line goes through the corner of the eye. So I'm going to move my hands so that you guys can see it. You want it to be in the corner of the eye. Right? So what you're going to do is measure, being consistent in your measurements. What you do on one side, we will then do to the other. Okay, now remember guys, these points can change. When you're mapping, it gives us a platform. It gives us a beginning to start with. Once you guys have mapped and come to your mapping or your mapping design, your client may want to deviate from the shape, and that's fine. That's exactly the process of microletting. You want to definitely have them involved, all right? Okay, so once you have marked your A through D, remember there's really not a necessity to mark your C point, but once you've marked these lines, remember A through D, they're going to be vertical, so we're going to be going straight up, okay? Now, my E through G are going to be my horizontal lines, okay? So I'm going to zoom in, and I just kind of want you guys to see something. Okay, so number one, most of your clients' brows are not going to be symmetrical. That's just everybody. It's not just her brows just a little bit off. This arch over here on the left brow is just a bit higher than that one. And that's fine because that's the point of microblading, to make it even. But what I want you guys to notice is when you're marking your E line, okay, I always tell you guys our focal point is going to be in the A region, right? Okay, the A region is the head or represents the bulb of the brow, right? Remember, it's only about 1/4 of the brow. So when we're marking our E point, I want you guys to focus on your A region. We're not going to worry about this portion, right? We're just going to be focused on that little tiny section, okay? Right now, we're determining the width. Okay, and Kay has decided she wants a natural brow. She doesn't want anything too thick, or she wants dramatic, but she wants it to look natural. So what I want us to do, we're going to build around the brow. So what you're going to do, focusing on your A region, the lowest portion of the brow should be directly on the line. Remember, if you've taken my online course, I've told you, no spaces and no gaps. Make sure your line is straight. There are going to be some cases where one side of the brow is touching the line and the other side is not. Remember, everyone's brows are not symmetrical. More than 86% of my clients' brows are not symmetrical. So you want to make for certain that your line is straight. If there are any discrepancies, like if your client has one brow that's higher than the other, or you may have a client that has a little bit fuller hair in the A region over here, the hair may be sporadic. Make for certain your lines are straight. Okay. Now we're going to go to the F point. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to do our last point. So we have E here, which is at the bottom, okay? So I want you guys just to notice something really, really quick. And this is what I kind of want to point out to you guys. look at this line here. This line goes straight across. But here, the hairs are a bit more sporadic in comparison to this one. Do you notice that, Sarah? Kay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So over here, just a little bit thinner. And here, you have a little bit more hair growing here. Okay. Very common. Like I said, most of my clients that come in, their brows are this way. All right. So now let's do our last point, which is our G. You want to go to the highest arch, right? Because the objective is to make the brows fuller. If one is lower, it's okay. I want you to go to the one that's the highest. You're going to go right directly on top, making for certain that you're keeping your string ruler straight. Notice how the right brow, the arch, hits the line. See that? So I'm going straight over. The line is straight. You see how this arch hits the line? This one does not. Do you see that? Very common. It's not a big deal. We're microblading practitioners. We're going to make them even, okay? But this is something that you want to point out to your clients so that they will see this as well, okay? So we're done on our points, so now we're going to begin connecting everything. All right, guys, so once you've mapped out all of your points, remember, I want to make sure that you have your lines very crisp. Is so important, guys. When you're working, it's imperative that you're very neat, you're very clean. Make for certain that you're not placing your medical cotton swabs on your station. I tell my students, as you go, clean. So I tell my kids, okay? So I'm just removing this because you're just going to have it here. I want you guys just to see something really clear. But nevertheless, when you're cleaning your lines, your medical cotton swabs are perfect for that. All right, so right now, guys, I want you guys to look at these little tiny dots. And if you've downloaded the PDF, the mapping PDF, you know what, I think this is maybe page 2 or 3. Sorry, I don't remember. But nevertheless, you're going to place your first dot. And let me just get my medical cotton swab, and I'll use that as my pointer. Your first dot should be placed at the intersection of A and E. You see that little tiny dot? Because we're going to connect them, okay? At the intersection of A and E. Your second one should be at the intersection of A and F. Now, what you're going to do, once you make your first and your second dot at those intersections, you're simply going to measure the dots and come over on the same side to make for certain that they are the same, and they are. Okay, of course, by the lines that we've already made, but you just want to double check. Okay, now on that form or on the download that you guys have, when we make a dot here, the first dot is going to be at B and G, right? This is where we're marking our arch. So automatically, you're going to look to B, okay? You're going to put a dot right here. Everything needs to be on the axis. Now, when you put this second dot, it's all about discretion. Remember, guys, remember, when you looked on the online course, okay, remember I told you it's going to range anywhere from 3 millimeters to 5 millimeters. This is just a variation. Okay, this is to the discretion of your clients, but when you're mapping, you're going to do anywhere from 3 to 5 millimeters. Remember, when you're measuring brows, we measure in millimeters. Okay, so I'm going to go right about here. All right, and I'm at 3 millimeters because she wants a natural brow, and because her brows are thin, when you have someone who has thin brows naturally, you don't want to go dramatic and look, artificial. You want to gradually, because remember, they have to come back for a touch-up. And at that time, if they wanted to go thicker or fuller, you could achieve this during that time. So where this dot is, I will come back over and I will measure it to ensure that I'm still at 3 millimeters. Okay, So on your D line, this is where the tail is going to extend. So we have her line here. But this is the thing. When you put your first point here, remember that this point cannot fall beneath your A and E intersection. So in other words, the tail should not drag down, okay? That would age your clients, okay? You want to lift up. Now she's young and vibrant, but nevertheless, still, you always want to lift up, okay? So what I generally do, and there are different ways that you could do, but you want to make for certain that you're using a sterile surgical ruler, right? And guys, make for certain if you use this on a client that you sanitize and disinfect it. Although it's just touching the skin, but it's wipeable. But you're going to come over here on your D line, and I'm just going to go all the way across, making it straight. Why am I doing this? Because I want my tails to be in the same placement. So now I'm going to put my mark here, and that lets me know my tails are going to be in the same place. Okay, so now we're going to connect. Alright guys, so now that you have your dot placement, what we're simply going to do is now connect the dots. There are a few ways you could do this. You can use your string ruler or you can just freehand it. I'm going to use a string ruler, and then I'm going to show you on the other side how to freehand it. Now, remember guys, I want you guys to be mindful of this. Your mapping, again, is just the base shape. Your client has to agree with the shape. But again, this gives us a beginning platform. And if your client desires a fuller or thinner brow or a softer arch, from this point, we can deviate from it, okay? So let's go ahead and connect everything. So you're going to start at the bottom, okay? The bottom of the brow is where most of the definition is shown. So watch this. And if you need to stretch the client's skin, then make sure you do so. So from this dot here, and you're just going to drag up. Okay? Now, the top line needs to be congruent with that line that I've just did, or parallel to the line I've just did from my A to my B at the bottom. You guys see that? Here to here. Now I'm going to go on top. Okay? And I can put some more brow pencil on, but you can go over it. Now I'm going to go from my B to my D. As you guys can already see it forming, simply go from your B to your D. Bada bing, bada bang. So once you've done that, if it seems a little bit light, you can go ahead and go over it with your brow pencil. So I'm going on that same line. Okay, so what I've done, I've followed the natural shape of her brow. This is her arch, so I haven't really did anything different, okay? So you want to clean up around it. And at this time, guys, I don't want you guys to try to shape it. Just make your line straight. So in other words, don't try to curve it. Just make your line straight. Once we're done with this, remember, we can customize it at that point. Okay? Okay, guys, so I just want to do the one on the left side. So this is your platform right here. This is how your final mapping should look. Remember, we can customize everything, but the whole point is to get a starting point. So I'm going to go ahead and remove all of our points. And then at this time, I always want to set my clients up to make for certain everything is symmetrical. You want to have your clients smile. You want to have them lift their brows up. You want to have them make an angry face, just to make for certain that when they make their facial expressions, that their brows are symmetrical. We don't want anyone, we know sometimes as women we can get a little angry. We don't want to be angry and one brow is higher than the other. So you want to make for certain that you have your client smile and make a few facial expressions so that we can see. But nevertheless, once you've connected everything at that point, you're going to remove everything around the brow. Of course not the shape, but just around it, just like so. All right, guys. So if you're in my online course, okay, the mapping PDF. Remember, this is like the final look, okay? And or if you've taken my on-site class, if you've come into our school to take the class, if you look in your training manual, you'll actually see the resulting brows look like this. So I'm going to turn you just like this, Kay. You see how that looks, guys? Just like that. Most of your clients don't want that point. I'm going to show you how to customize that, but this is the final look, okay? All right, so remember the homework assignment that you guys had if you're in my online course here. So I want you to look at this. Sorry, Kay. All right. And then look at her brows. See? So this is just with basic mapping, okay? Now, of course, if you just want to go ahead and freehand, you absolutely can. There are a lot of microblading practitioners that do that. But this is for maybe a client who has brows that are not symmetrical, and or you might get some clients that may, suffer from alopecia, who have no hair, and you have to have a beginning platform. This is where microblading, the mapping definitely comes in handy, okay? Guys, so I'm just going to show you how to customize it, and then Kay and I are going to look at everything, and but I'm just going to show you the base way to customize a brow when you're at this point. So, number one, you're going to begin with making your lines precise. If you guys have came to my online class or my on-site class, you guys always hear me placing emphasis on cleanliness. And that's with everything, making for certain that you're working in a sterile area, making for certain that you have your PPE, also making for certain that the platform or the surface of your client's skin is clean so that you can see exactly what you're doing. When you show your client, you need to make for certain that your outline or the perimeter of your shape design is even. So in other words, you might have to come and clean it. So I'm going to show you with my Spirit Q-tip. So just a little bit of water on there. Right? You want to clean the inside from your points. take the little dots away. So when you show your client, they will understand. Okay. Then we'll go to the other side and do the same thing. Cleaning any little lines that are in here. Removing my dot. Okay. Now, some clients, they want the dramatic look, so I'm going to stop at this time. I'm going to showcase, and we're going to customize. But just to soften the arch, I just want to show you really quick. To soften the arch, what you could do is just simply come around and curve. Just taking that little point off. That, what I just did, made a big difference. Okay, so that's what I mean by once you come up with your base mapping design, your base, okay, again, you can deviate from it. And if you guys just seen how I took that point off, it just made a world of difference. This is mapping around her natural brow, so this could be the shape that she desires. And sometimes if your client wants you to fill in just so they can get a general idea of how it looks, you can do that as well. Some clients won't understand just the outline, so sometimes you can do it. Remember guys, if you've taken my class, we talk about the square shape and the natural shape brow, right? So this is where you're going to come in at make your first microblading stroke in your A region, and you can either go straight up for a square brow or you're going to curve it over for a natural brow. All right, so we'll be back guys. She and I are going to come up with her design and I will be happy to show you guys. All right guys, so we've done her shape. It literally took under 5 minutes. So essentially what I did was what I showed you guys, and I just softened the arch. And generally, when I'm doing a microblading procedure, that's generally what takes place because, again, you're mapping around their natural brow structure. So I just literally take off my points. So I want you guys to, you're probably wondering, why did I put these lines back up here? This is to show your clients, okay? And this is also your own personal confirmation so that you can see when you simply just go back over here that everything is in the correct placement. So in other words, both brows are starting here, the thickness of the A will be here, and you want to make for certain that your arch are touching that line. The line should be going straight across, okay? Now look at your lines. There should be no curving in your line. There should be no slant. It should go straight across, okay? So I'm going to remove the line so that you guys can vividly see the shape, and then we're gonna go ahead and get rock and rolling in microblading. Okay, so I'm just gonna remove this. You guys can still see my little dots here. Okay, and I want to show you guys how you're going to measure the brows as well. Okay. Now, I like to leave my G-line up. You can take yours off. It's not required. I just like to do it for my personal preference. So you're going to measure from A to D. Okay? You should be able to go back over and lift your caliper, and it should be the exact same. Okay? I want you guys to measure from A to D throughout the brow. So in other words, you're going to go here. Make for certain that your placement is the same. So if your points are touching the line, then they should touch the line here as well. Okay. So you just would measure throughout the brow, adjust your caliper, make for certain that you're measuring in your B region. If these points are touching on the line, they have to do the exact same thing. So I'm holding it. I'm holding, and let me just show you where my fingers are. My fingers are here, just giving the stability. So I should be able to place this right on the other side. And as you guys can see, it's the exact same. Okay, so you will do that throughout the entire brow, even your tails, making for certain that they're the same thickness. Okay, so I'm going to turn you this way. All right, I'm going to turn you the other way. And that's her mapping. It's a beautiful shape. It's going to look really good in her. All right, and we're going to start the microblading process, guys, and come back and show you guys the transformation. Guys, so we're going to begin the process. I just want to show you guys how to stretch the skin. I always place emphasis on this. When you are microblading, you have to stretch the skin, a 3-point stretch. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull upward, okay, over the supraorbital ridge. You want to pull up. You're going to place your index finger for here, and with the hand that you that you have your microblading pen in, you will stretch over, okay? So in each area that you are working in, which we refer to as our working window, you need to have the skin stretched, and it should be very, very tight, okay? The skin should not move. All right. Also, guys, remember, if you've taken my online course, you know that you want to check your needles. Okay, making for certain that there are no discrepancies, no spaces, and or no gaps. You can use your pigment holders, or you can use your finger ring. Me personally, my preference is the finger ring, simply because it's easier. Okay, you want to shape your pigment up, only using a little bit of pigment. Alright guys, so I'm going to do my first framing, okay, and when you do your shape, sometimes what I'll do is just simply put a cotton round right here, just so that I make for certain that I don't, you know, rub the brow pencil off. So if you need to do that, you can do so. When you are microblading, guys, you only want to tip the very tips of your needles in. Now, as this becomes very redundant for you and you're very confident, I just like to personally see my work. Okay, so we're going to be creating a natural brow on her. Again, you're going to stretch the skin, and we're going to start off at the base, and I'm in the 8 area. Remember your 3 to 6 strokes here. So let's get started. You want to test the skin first, not applying a lot of pressure, just minimum, okay? So that's the first stroke. And as you guys can kind of see as I pull the skin open. Pulling the skin up. If the client's skin is oily a little bit, you just take a round cloth. Pulling the skin up. Making for certain that I'm pressing this way. Okay, so what I'm doing now is just going back in and putting just a little pigment. And I'm just basically ice skating, okay? Now, as you guys kind of see me going in, I just want to let you know that I was not applying any pressure. I'm simply just placing more pigment into that incision that I've just created. So that was my third stroke, so I'm going to pull up more. Okay, that's your fourth string. Now, one thing I want you guys to notice that there is very, very minimum, if any, bleeding, and that's because your pressure should be very light. So again, I want you guys to think ice skates. Okay, so those strokes, very beautiful. In addition to that, guys, I want to make sure that you guys keep your needles clean. If there's any pigment buildup, I want you guys to wipe that off. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I've done 4 strokes. Remember, it could be anywhere from 3 to 6 depending on the size of the individual's face. So I'm going to go ahead and begin to frame the bottom. Now remember, when we're framing the bottom, what I'm doing is maintain the shape or the brow design that we've created. I want to make for certain that we keep that. And that's why the first brow pass is essentially the most important pass. Of course, all of them are, but it's the most important pass because we have to maintain that shape. Remember, sometimes your mapping can go anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. So you want to make for certain that you maintain that shape. Remember, wherever you're working at, that skin needs to be stretched and taut. Pulling up over the supraorbital ridge, index fingers stability, and I'm taking my pinky and stretching towards the right. Okay, are you all right? All right, so again, and I want you guys to see it, pulling the skin up, stretching, index finger for stability. Okay, every area that I'm blading in, I need to make for certain that I'm stretching that skin. Okay, if you guys hear the little, like the scratching sound, you will hear that, absolutely normal. If you don't hear it, you're probably not applying enough pressure. Okay, so the bottom is now framed. So you want to pull back, make for certain that the skin is broken. So guys, just look, you don't see any blood. Again, that's because I am not applying a lot of pressure. You don't want to go through the epidermis. So this is the objective of the practice skin that you all practice on, because remember, it is a replication of the epidermis layer. So we want you guys to practice on that, just so you'll know not to go or penetrate through that skin, okay? So remember, once we get here, right, at that last line, I'm going to come back on top and close it like a V. We're closing the shell off. Okay, now I'm going in a downward direction. Okay. Okay, so remember, this is your blank space. That's the first frame. Remember, I told you that it generally takes about 5 minutes, so looks like we're under 5 minutes. So that's the first frame. So at this point, you want to go ahead and take some in-between numbing cream to place on your client. Remember, you don't have to, but I like to keep my clients comfortable. So I'm going to place that on there. I'm going to do her pigment mask, and then we'll start on the left brow, and then we'll go ahead and do the second pass.